You're listening to the UTalk Hockey Podcast with your hosts Champ and Denz.
What is up, UTalk Nation? I am your host, Denz. This is Champ.
What up, what up?
And we are on another episode of the UTalk Hockey Podcast.
Check the swag.
New swag
UTalk
drop.
Hockey. You might have seen us at the arena just yesterday or a few days ago, whenever you're listening to this. Very exciting stuff that has been transpiring. Hey, Denz?
Yeah, it's been a crazy week.
It has been a crazy week.
Today we're going to dive in, but before we do so, last episode we briefly talked about our background, joked about being rookie league hockey. Not joked, we are.
We are rookie league hockey players, and we're kind of a joke. No, it's kidding.
but I want to take a second and actually introduce us just a little bit more, our even professional backgrounds, and kind of why are we doing this and what we hope to accomplish. So, Sam, let's take your first take at this.
Yeah. So, first off, it's Champ Denz.
You know what? Last episode you said Caden. So
Did I?
You did. So we're 1 for 1 right now.
Oh man, we are 0 and we're 0 for 2 is how that counts
Actually,
out.
yeah, that's how it should work.
But anyway, yes, my background is in marketing and sales. I've been doing it for 10 plus years, and I'm currently a CRO at a software company. In fact, Denz and I work together in the executive team at that company. I also have a side business where I sell waterproof backpacks and dry bags. I do voiceovers. I've officiated football before. I want to get into officiating even in hockey. So lots of background that is kind of in the realm of broadcasting and marketing and sales. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Yeah, and so Champ, Champ's been how long have we known each other?
2017.
2017. So it's been quite a few years. We've done business together. We are currently both on an executive team for a software company. I've been in the software realm for over a decade, and it is so much fun. And the reason why I kind of bring that into this conversation is just the future of the NHL in Utah, being able to talk about not just from a fan perspective, but also from a business entity perspective. I find the sport business quite fascinating, being able to talk on those subjects and talk about the leadership. And we'll talk a little bit about that today, of the transaction that happened with the Arizona Coyotes coming into Utah. We obviously talked a lot about that in our last episode, but why that's fascinating and what potentially is it going to do for the business transactions that need to take place with arena situations, and being able to comment on that. And we're excited to dive into those details. So we're going to dive into our first segment, Off the Post.
Off the post.
Which is our news and things that are going on right now. So, Sam, let's dive into this.
Off the post. All right, let's do it. So, clarification of the Utah deal. Let's start there, right? So, earlier this month, the league approved the sale of the Arizona Coyotes, the players, the prospects, the draft picks, and reserve lists to the Utah Jazz owner, Ryan Smith, who is now the owner of the Utah Hockey Club. And it's important to understand the aspects of that deal. You mentioned it earlier, Denz, that he said something recently in an interview to help fans and those trying to understand, like, what did the deal entail?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Well, I love Ryan. He's all about the people. And so naturally he would focus on this and point this out, is that the transaction was just people.
Yeah.
That's all it was. It was human beings that he got to have. And well, obviously future draft picks, things like that, but it was all about people. Everything else is brand new, right? The franchise being established in Utah. Obviously, we don't have a name or logos or colors. We'll get into that. That's still pending, and that will be pending for some time. But it was just people. And Friday, the day after the announcement from last week, so a week ago, by the time this podcast episode will drop, it is just the people that was part of the transaction. And in that transaction, Ryan talked about how that's all we're getting, but you saw his passion come about, like, and that is the best transaction. He's like, I don't even think we got a skate sharpener. He's like, maybe one was thrown in there.
Right.
But that was in the press conference, and it just shows how much not only he cares about this, he also talked about this being a massive community team, that it was all about the people of Utah. Now, credit needs to go to the Smith Entertainment Group. This wouldn't have happened without them.
Absolutely.
So it's not just the people. He talked about it. He's like, the NHL chose Utah, meaning he said they chose you guys, the people. And I was like, well, he also chose someone who could drop a $1.2 billion. But
$1 billion bag on my front door.
And everything else. Everything else literally just worked out so well in favor of Utah compared to other cities, and why Utah was chosen, from even division alignment, still being, they didn't have to drop new, like everything just worked out honestly perfectly.
Yeah.
To have a billionaire that was in the state willing to invest. We had an arena, and we'll get into those details.
Yeah, the Arizona Coyotes name as well. They're currently an inactive team, so the Utah team will never be the Coyotes. That has remained with the previous owner, because if he builds that arena in 5 years in Arizona, he can bring the Coyotes name back. Will it happen? Only time will tell. But it won't ever be the Utah Coyotes, and this team in Utah will be its own. And before we get into those naming conventions a little bit more, because that's definitely the hot topic of most of the conversations happening on social.
It's the biggest question mark.
Right. It's also this idea of the remodel versus building a brand new arena.
Right.
When the deal came, the commissioner straight up said, well, there's way too many problems with the arena right now. You wouldn't be able to do what hockey needs to be done in an arena. So something has to change, or you have to build something completely new. So let's just discuss that real quick. The decision now is...
Yeah, so it's going to be a remodel of the Delta Center. And that wasn't Ryan Smith's original preference. It wasn't his first choice. But between a bunch of conversations, we won't dive into all those conversations. The decision ended up, there's $900 million, $1 billion that is going to go towards not only the remodel, but the investment of the downtown experience beyond just, again, this is Ryan Smith talking about the community and being the experience management guru. He wants it to be not only the experience of the Delta Center being revamped and remodeled, but also the entertainment district around the Delta Center and restaurants and availability and housing to make the downtown area just this booming metropolis of entertainment. The entertainment district is what they're calling it. And honestly, I think it's smart, At first, the initial renderings that came out in January when they, first talked about the Utah Jazz and the future hopeful NHL team at that time, to be able to play in this like new entertainment. I mean, the renderings looked pretty epic.
They did look sick.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
And so I get it for like Ryan Smith to like kind of back off from that and be like, hey, you know what? We're just going to invest in what we already have. We're going to invest, I don't know, let's say $500 million of that goes to the Delta Center for the remodel. So right now, let's talk about the capacity, what we know, what he said in the press conference. Like 12,000 unobstructed seats that are going to open, but they are going to open with 16,000 total seats for the inaugural season. Now, I would imagine they're going to figure out, cheaper seats for the ones that have slight obstructed views, but it's still going to be 16,000. And I don't think that's a small number when we get
comparative to what was in Arizona.
Exactly. Well, and looking at like some of the other NHL arenas that get sold out and the crowds are massive, like the idea of 18,000 fans in 2 summers. So after the inaugural season, there'll be 2 summers where they're going to dedicate to the renovation in the off season from the Jazz and the NHL in Utah. And what that's going to do is allow them to get to a capacity of 17,500 by the time their 3rd season drops. So Gary Bettman, obviously very happy with that news. He's already seen those plans. He talked about it in the press conference. He even said, I would prefer no arena drama.
I wonder why.
And Ryan Smith's like, you're not going to have any. So, it's we're there. The Delta Center is going to be reinvested in. It is 30 some odd years old, but it's got some good bones, and I think I'm hopeful when they show the plans to the community that all of us are going to be like, oh wow, that's really cool what they're going to do.
Do you think the community will embrace a 0.5% increase in their taxes to make this happen?
Ryan Smith was asked that kind of in the same way you just said it.
Yeah, well, that's because I don't think there's going to be a lot of people that actually agree with that.
That is the one thing the Salt Lake City Council still has to approve that finalization. Obviously, the Utah bill, I forget the number, already passed for $900 million, which would allow them to raise it 0.5%. I think a lot of people are excited. I don't think there's going to be issues there. But yeah, that is to specifically Salt Lake City. And, that if you aren't a hockey fan, I can see where they'd be like, well, why are you using my money? But from the business side, I get the business transaction and how much revenue that is going to bring in to Salt Lake City. They're also preparing for 2034 Olympics.
That's what I was going to say. Like the preparation for that, it's already just like jump starting.
Right. And
I mean, it makes sense.
I can get kind of the snobbiness of maybe some, but from a business transaction perspective, I think this is a great move for Salt Lake City. Obviously, most of city council, the disbursement of those funds and exactly what it can be used for is still in discussion. But at the end of the day, I think it's a very smart business transaction. And I'll be honest, a lot more money is about to be needing to be approved for the Olympics to be coming to Utah in 10 years from now. And I think this is just a head start and kill two birds with one stone.
A lot of people don't like that phrase, so you be careful with that one. Let's talk names.
What's the new phrase?
Is a bird one on there? It's like softly let two birds fly. It's 2024. We got to be in
right. Got to be careful.
We can't be killing birds. We have to.
Okay.
We don't kill birds with stones. We actually just let them be
fly. Yeah.
But side by side.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's talk names for a second. Ryan Smith said that we're going to do a bracket. The state of Utah, the community gets to choose the name, and they're going to do a bracket. When he said it on Pat McAfee's show, he said, "Come on, Ryan, are you kidding me? This is a terrible idea." And
Ryan's like, "We're going to use Qualtrics. There's no AI bots."
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I think it's a great idea.
Has it ever been done?
I don't know. Probably not. What other nerd puts, a bracket? No, Ryan, I'm not calling you a nerd. Well, yeah, I am actually. But
good one.
Right, a good nerd. But I think it's great because it actually brings to life.
I'm excited to vote.
Yeah, dude, I'm going to vote, and it's going to be awesome because if the name that I voted for gets chosen, it's like, hey, I helped name that name.
Well, and the bracket format, you're constantly having to be like, all right, now of the next round, here are my favorites. So we aren't going to be split. By the end, it's going to get down to 2, and, majority wins.
Question is it rigged? Does he really have the name and he's just letting us think that?
Maybe.
That's always what I've been thinking.
So let's dive into the names that have been buzzing. We mentioned a couple in our last episode, but there's been a lot of polls even started with news outlets. So let's talk about what is kind of the popular ones out there.
So if we put this into a bracket, let's say Yeti versus Blizzard, who would you go for?
I'd probably go with Yeti.
Okay. Mammoth or Black Diamond? Ooh, that's a tough one.
I have been liking Black Diamonds, but I've been really liking Mammoth.
I'd go Mammoth as well.
The new one.
Raptors or Outlaws?
Raptors.
Oh, see, I think I'd go Outlaws.
Oh, yeah?
See, I used to be a Raptor guy, but I really don't think they're going to go with Raptors. But I do like Raptors a lot, just because Utah Raptors,
The NBA team being the Raptors, I think I would prefer something unique. So now that you mentioned that, I'd probably go Outlaws.
Fury or Ice?
I think they're both done.
Okay. So we're just going to nix out Fury and Ice, cancel those.
Well, I can see the Utah Ice just iced the puck.
There you go. Yeah, you're right. That's kind of lame. Yeti, Mammoth, Outlaws, and Black Diamonds. How about those 4? What would you pick?
I'm loving Mammoth. I think it's become my new favorite.
Mammoth versus Yeti. What would you pick?
Mammoth.
I think Mammoth. Have you seen some of the ideas that are put on social? Looks pretty hardcore.
We'll have to drop that in for the video version of the podcast.
I didn't know that the Mammoth could look so mean.
Yeah, well, and it has a lot of even some of the things of people saying why Mammoth fits Utah. It's legit. I think it's a good representation, and it's a big beast of an animal.
Speaking of beast of an animal, they actually found a mammoth tusk in Fairview, Utah, in 2004. So it actually has a tie to Utah.
Yeah, like an hour and a half ish
Yeah,
south of
yeah,
Salt Lake.
yeah.
You know, I think they actually like preserved it and put it on display in one of the Utah museums. So
That's right. So Mammoth does have a historic tie to the state of Utah, which is pretty cool.
yeah.
All right, let's talk the party.
Oh, dude.
Okay, so I mean Wednesday, what was it, the 23rd?
I had a very busy day, and I was like, I don't care.
Yeah,
we've got to go.
Both Denz and I were like, we gotta go. I took my kid out of school.
Yeah.
Denz brought his wife and daughter.
Yep.
It was awesome. So that event was next level.
Like the online chatter was leaning towards like it was going to be epic, which is why you and I decided, hey, we should probably leave like an hour before the hour of it starting. But even then, we got there, and I was like, "There's no way we're getting a good seat."
Right. Lines,
every single
lines
door.
on the sidewalk. Just every door. The building was just wrapped around with people. There was street hockey playing, a live band.
Yeah.
News outlets all over the place, interviewing fans, booths, food. It was a whole event, and I'll tell you what, Utah showed up.
Yeah, they did. They had to turn people away. We got full house capacity for what was allowed for the
Fire
event.
marshal had to literally tell people, "Sorry, you can't come in. We've hit capacity." That's epic.
So cool.
So
there was
epic.
someone online. He was just like, "Where the hell has this Utah community of hockey players been all my life? I had no idea."
Yeah. And I mean, when Ryan Smith first started talking about hockey, he said, when we get it here,
Yeah.
people are going to show up.
Yeah.
People will show up. The fan base in Utah shows up. And Utah, you showed up. Way to go. That was awesome.
So epic. And I want to point out, like, yes, it was a free event, but there was nothing truly like massive giveaways or like it was free J-Dogs.
Yeah, we got hot dogs.
Yeah. Utah special.
Yeah, it's true.
And everyone still showed up. They took the time. It wasn't like it was in the evening. Like people had to take off work. It was late afternoon before the work day ended. So there was this level of commitment that you saw come out of the woodworkings of the entire community. And I mean, even let's talk about what people said about it. Specifically, Bill Armstrong, Coach Andre, the players, when we got into the event, what was talked about.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the biggest highlight actually was pre-event. When they got off the plane,
Yeah.
before they even got to the arena, there were 3,000 plus kids, adults cheering them on as they came off the plane. Like they had they called it a hero's welcome. I liked how that was kind of portrayed as this hero's welcome for this team that literally just lost their home of so many years in Arizona, but then coming to Utah to have that embrace. And then literally when they get to the stadium, it's full. I mean, what was it? 15,000 or 12,000 seats filled.
Yeah.
Just full. And there was 3/4 of an ice hockey rink in the stadium. They didn't have a full one because all the seats were pushed out so that we could have this event and this moment to meet the GM and the coach and the players. And it was just awesome. And I think what was shared was just how emotional and great the experience was. And I think we were going to talk about that a little bit later, right? In the power play.
Yeah.
So stay tuned because we want to highlight some of the things that were shared in that event. But yeah, free J-Dogs. There was cheerleaders. I think it was the jazz dancers, actually.
I mean, they were, but
yeah,
they were already branded.
Yeah.
I mean, the brand is NHL in Utah. Everything was NHL in Utah. We got shirts.
Right. We did get shirts.
NHL in Utah.
But I think it's important to actually share that when we were wearing our UTalk hockey shirts, many of you actually recognized us and shouted us out, so we appreciate that. That
Very
was
much so.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We felt like celebrities for a brief moment. You're like, hey, there's the hockey podcast guys.
We got stopped in random places.
Yeah.
And someone pulled off the side of the road, rolled down, and said, hey, you guys are podcast. And it was great. You know?
Right. So super cool. Thanks for the shout outs. Thanks for listening. We're going to keep pushing this content out for you, and we hope that you keep enjoying it. So
yeah,
really good stuff. It actually, one of the people that I met was someone that left a pretty salty comment on one of our videos, and we're going to bring that up in Chirping with Champ. Should we move into that segment?
Let's do it. Let's move into the Chirping with Champ segment to dive into the
Hopefully
post.
It's a fan favorite already, and we've only done one episode. So in this one, it's going to be fun because I'm going to highlight this guy.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Let's do it.
Chirping with Champ. All right. So here's what went down. We posted our video podcast, which you can find us on YouTube, find us on Spotify. We're on iTunes now. Go check us out. But Adam, when we posted the video of our first episode, he posted that he loves the fact that Utah is getting a professional hockey team. But then he did bring up the history of the Golden Eagles and then the creation of the Maverick Center, and ultimately decided that basketball in the Delta Center ruined hockey's chance in Utah.
Yeah, because it wasn't set up for
It wasn't set up for hockey. So regardless, and it sounds like a lot of, older fans that have been fans for a long time in Utah. I'm not a Utah native, actually. I'm from Montana. So the state of Utah and the history of it, it's something that I'm still learning. So Adam, thanks for, educating me. But he ultimately said that the fact that I was wearing a Jazz hat in our podcast was a discredit. I'll read it exactly. He says, that is why doing a Utah Hockey podcast in a Jazz hat is almost instantly a discredit to gaining traction, especially with longtime hockey fans. I actually, in my lifetime, I never thought I'd meet Adam. When I was at the event at the Delta Center, I met Adam. Adam showed up, which is awesome. Adam, I'm glad you showed up. Way to go, man. Way to support the NHL in Utah. But, man, when I saw him, he's like, hey, are you one of the hosts? I was like, yeah, I'm one of the hosts. Thanks for listening. He's like, hey, I was the one lighting up your comments about the history of Utah and the Golden Eagles. I was like, oh, hey, Adam, there you go. Ultimately, we had a great conversation, and I think what was awesome is we both had a moment of, hey, regardless of our thoughts on what has or has not happened in the past.
Will it be successful?
Will it be successful? At the end of the day, we're excited, both of us, that the NHL is coming to Utah. So when we get those, either a UTalk Hockey hat or a NHL in Utah hat or a Utah Mammoth hat someday, that's what I'll be wearing. So, Adam, don't worry. I'm going to be wearing that. But there were a lot of people wearing Jazz hats at that event.
Jazz and every other NHL team known to mankind.
Right. So
no one had anything.
You should go chirp on them too, Adam, because everybody else was doing what I did.
Right.
So
that's all we had.
So there's my first chirp, but I do appreciate Adam's history lesson that he gave me, and he did.
Just engaging with the content.
Yeah, we do appreciate it. We love the feedback. So there's the first one. Now there's been some chirps, and I'm excited to share some of them. First of all, it is really interesting what some people are saying as they saw this event transpire. Specifically, Arizona Coyote fans who saw how much love Utah gave, right? They were hoping for this crash and burn. Nobody shows up. A couple people show up. 3,000 people when they get off the plane. Literally, nearly probably 20,000 people in the area of Salt Lake around that stadium wanting to be a part of this event.
A welcoming event.
The air was electric. and Arizona Coyote fans struggled. Okay, here's a couple. Major Nelson says, "It's like watching an ex move on to a happy relationship. All you can do is let go and wait for the sun to rise again," figuratively speaking. So, Major Nelson, we get you, man.
Yep.
There was a lot of love from the Utah community, and we're sorry that it hurts, but we're excited to have a team, and we hope that you get your team back in expansion sometime soon. Now, speaking of expansion, somebody else tweeted. I'll just say his first name, Grant. Grant replied to somebody on Twitter and said the following: "I thought I'd be able to support this team, but this might be the worst day of fandom in my life of supporting the Coyotes. Having to start over if we get a franchise while Utah gets all these guys plus our draft picks is such a joke." Let me tell you something, Grant. That was a little salty. We're sorry, not sorry. And we are so excited that we have 13 picks in this upcoming draft. So, if you want to keep following Utah and NHL and Utah, you can do that. So another chirp that I thought was interesting. Joshy, his handle is Joshy likes jazz. He said, "To all those Arizona fans who said no one would show up, have fun in the desert." That was pretty salty, Joshy. What I really loved was a reply probably from a Coyotes fan who actually Googled, "Is Salt Lake City a desert?" Google it if you don't know, and guess what? It is. It's a desert. So
we are a high desert.
Technically, Joshy, your tweet didn't age well because technically NHL and Utah's having fun in the desert too. It's just not as warm as the desert in Arizona.
Yep.
So I thought that was really funny as well. And he literally took a screenshot of him searching it and Google saying, "It is a desert.
It is a desert.
But they do experience all 4 seasons."
Yep.
Another one. And I hated this tweet, by the way, because I'm a BYU fan.
Oh, Adam, I saw this
Adam,
one.
I'm sorry if you're not a BYU fan. You're probably a Ute fan. But... right? But as a BYU fan, I just don't like chanting, let's go Utah. Right?
I mentioned that at the event. I said, this feels weird chanting this.
This feels so wrong.
Yeah.
But it still felt so right. Now, I'll speak to that in a second. But Ivan said, "Hey, BYU fans, I heard that Let's Go Utah chant in the Delta Center today. Felt good, didn't it?"
I saw that one.
The blue blood in me did not feel good about it.
Yeah.
But I will tell you something. When it was being chanted for the NHL in Utah, it felt really good. So there's a level. And if that's the chant for NHL in Utah, I'm going to be chanting that, even as a BYU fan.
Hands down.
But
now,
it's not for Utes. Come on now.
But what if the color's red?
Oh, jeez, this would be a tough one. Listen, I like Utah sports. And, I'll cheer on the Utes if they're not playing BYU. I'm not that hardcore, but there's some hardcore fans, and they will not, for the life of them, cheer for the opposite team. You know what I mean?
People may destroy me in the sports world, but I got to give some preface. It was a free gift given to me. It was a nice hat. But Champ here, one day, looked at me. He's like, "What are you wearing?"
Why are you wearing
I was in a
that?
Utes hat. I was in a BYU shirt, and I was in Utah Valley University.
Utah Valley shorts. I said, "Guy, pick a loyalty. Come on, you can't have all 3 colleges on your body, right? You can't do that." Tell me, someone out there, please validate that.
I validate it.
You can't. Yeah, he's like, "Oh." Then he starts taking his clothes off. I'm like, "Dude, stop it." I'm like, "Come on, man.
No,
just pick a team and stay there.
Yeah,
and keep your clothes on." No, just kidding. He wasn't doing that. But anyway, I thought that was really funny. Let's see. There's a couple more here. Let's just agree that we will all be disappointed once the name comes out, the color scheme or logo design. Utahns are bred to complain. Might as well accept that right now and move on. This was from Sarge.
Salty.
I was like, "Sarge, that's too salty. You should change your handle to Salty Sarge."
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But I thought that was a bit salty. It's like, come on, dude. Utahns aren't bred to complain. Did you see the excitement and the liveliness and energy that we brought to that arena on Wednesday, April 23rd? History in the making. We were there.
We were there.
We were there.
For the inaugural welcoming event. So cool.
So cool. And so really love all of that. And let's see. I think those were all the tweets that I wanted to share, because everything else that I saved was about what the players, the coaches, or the coach and the GM had to say. And I think that's a really important piece to kind of bring this all home, is what was the feeling? What did they say? So let's jump into our final segment.
The power play.
Let's do it.
Get ready for your Utah power play.
Okay, power play. Bring us in, Denz. Where should we start?
So we're going to start off with GM Bill Armstrong. He gets up on stage and welcomes the audience. And I think, read the quote, and what he said was just so mood setting for what was happening.
As he walked off the plane, at the event, he shared this with the crowd, that he had tears rolling down his face. And he said it was because of the setting, the people, but he also said it because of these players and what they've gone through. And he pointed to the players that were sitting on the stage, and he said, these players are they are the hardest working people that you're going to ever meet, and you get to see them and you get to cheer them on. And basically he's saying your event and how you've welcomed them goes to show how much you care and you want to be a part of this experience with us. Yep. And then he said, Utah, you touched my heart today. You have no idea what that means to us. We will pay you back for all of that emotion you gave us today. And then another part of it, not direct quoting, but he said, we cannot wait to have this be the loudest arena in the NHL. And then he ended it, kind of a mic drop, and said, we will pay you back.
And then we became the loudest crowd, deafening.
Jeez,
prove that.
The arena literally was shaking because
and we were
of the
missing
screams.
4,000 people still.
Yeah, that's right. Once we get that $600 million upgrade, we're going to have more people in those stands.
Yeah.
It's going to be epic. And I will say, when that little banner that runs around the arena said NHL in Utah, seeing that NHL logo in this state, I didn't have to drive to Vegas to see it.
Exactly.
Right? I didn't have to drive to Colorado to see it. Those are the closest teams for us.
And it was just a drive up the road.
It was just a drive up the road, 40 minutes. You saw the traffic, whether it was that traffic or not. We're not going to complain about that. But Bill Armstrong,
Yeah, and let's move on to Utah Hockey's head coach,
Andre Turigny.
Bear. So for those that don't know, he's referred to as Bear.
Rawr.
And he kind of seemed, it was actually very fitting. Once I saw him online with just his comments, the press conference, questions he's asked, he just seems like this amazingly strong, will-minded, although loving teddy bear at the same time, as a very nurturing and caring coach. And it came through his words. Let's talk about what he said, because I think his words were so powerful.
Yeah. And it's just one sentence that I need to share. And then there's a couple other things he said that I'll share as well. But I think the most important one, he said, I think this is my best day in the NHL so far. How does that make you feel, Utah?
So cool.
An NHL coach literally just told all of you, this is the best day that I've ever had in the NHL because of what we experienced with them, right?
Yep.
Huge, right? We have started the relationship off strong, which is why people are tweeting from Arizona saying, it's kind of hard to watch this.
Yeah.
This is kind of hard to watch this because there is so much excitement, love,
energy,
emotion.
I get it.
Man, everybody that came to that event wants Utah hockey to succeed, and they're going to be there game in, game out to cheer on the Utah Hockey Club.
Which, real quick, update on the numbers since our last episode.
Oh, yeah.
wants Utah hockey to succeed. We are at nearly 30,000 preseason ticket deposits. And at the event, Ryan Smith was like, let's keep it going. And I'm like, how? No.
Where are we going to seat them? We can only fit 12 right now.
I mean, if we're all about breaking records, sure. But
Unobstructed, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. There are, I mean, in the arena itself, there's 17,000 something seats.
Well, someone commented saying they actually might, with that desire and capacity, they might sell out the season with season tickets. That is, you couldn't buy a single game ticket at that point. How unreal would that be? Their inaugural season literally is just season ticket holders.
Can you do that?
I
Come on.
That would, but you literally have such a demand. I mean, Vegas, I think those were some of the other numbers, 6,500 some odd preseason ticket, deposits within the first 2 months. Dude, we're a week in.
It's crazy.
Anyways.
Just crazy. One other thing I'll say that Andre had mentioned, the coach, he said, we are ready to fight for Utah. And he was blown away right now by the reception from Salt Lake City, the community, the state of Utah. The GM, the coach, the players, they felt it. It was so cool to see how the players were interacting.
Yeah.
I mean, they each got to stand up, introduce themselves, tell us who they are, where they're from, what their position is. And we're going to, in later episodes, we're going to get to know those players more. So keep following us. Here. We're going to share that information in a fun way. And the closer we get to the season, the better, because then we get to start talking about them as hockey players, what makes them good, what they're strong at, right? We'll talk about all that. But what was it like having them speak? Like, what was the experience
there? The crazy part is every single one of them had to speak in 2 shifts. And what I mean by that is they first expressed a quick sentence of gratitude.
Each one of them did.
Each one of them, like, this is amazing. I'm so thankful. And they had to stop because the crowd went so wild.
So nuts.
After every single time they did that, to the point where some of them actually almost forgot to introduce themselves.
Yeah.
And then they would introduce themselves and the crowd would cheer again. And it was just it actually took a minute to get through them all because the crowd was so loud and cheering that each player had to wait for the cheers and then say, and by the way, my name's so-and-so and this is my position.
Yeah. So cool. One of the funnest ones. Who would you say? I mean, memorable.
Spicy tuna.
Right. The chant. Excited to cheer on Liam in that way. Liam O'Brien, one of the players, so excited to hear his excitement, but like he got the crowd going.
Oh, he did.
I mean, he blew the mic out literally.
Yeah, it was
right. So he screamed, but then the next guy that came on, he's like, "Yeah, let's keep the spicy tuna chants coming."
Yeah.
So it was so fun to just see the players and their gratitude, and they really many of them said this has been the best experience that they've ever had in their NHL career. And some of them have been in the NHL for 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
And so to be able to say that in a place that they just got placed into, they literally
flew in that morning.
And they put on the swag that they didn't have. They were hauling boxes of swag for them to wear.
So that before the press showed them on camera that they would come out in this NHL in Utah.
Guys, we're piecing this together, but it's working.
Yep.
So don't stop, Utah. Keep it going.
Let's keep going.
Keep it going. Really, really exciting stuff. Any other highlights that we're missing that might be worth sharing?
I mean, nothing that was like to the level that is being missed out on, but just that energy in the Delta Center is one that I'm not going to forget. I've been to other events in the Delta Center, and it wasn't even a game. That was the point. It wasn't even a game, and the energy as if it was like a playoff game, the excitement was just, it was a great inaugural event of welcoming the team. I'm glad I got to be a part of it with you there as well. It was a lot of fun, and I'm excited for the weeks and months ahead leading up to the official inaugural season. in starting October later this year, which, by the way,
Listen up. Open your ears.
get ready.
Look with your eyes.
So we are going to give away 2 tickets,
Preseason tickets.
preseason tickets. Got to clarify that. And maybe more giveaways in the future, but 2 preseason tickets to one of those games. They typically happen towards the end of September.
That's right. So to enter to win, all you got to do is follow us on our social channels, at least one of them, at UTalk Hockey.
Yep.
UTALK Hockey. Instagram, Facebook, X, even TikTok. We don't have a lot of TikTok content yet, but we're going to get more. But go follow us, and then you got to subscribe to the podcast.
Yep.
You can find us on most podcast providers. Definitely give us a subscribe, and that will enter you to win. And we will pick a random winner later on in the off season. So be sure to follow us, subscribe, and then that enters you to win. You and one lucky person with you gets 2 preseason tickets.
Go on a date.
Go on a date, or take your best bud. Whatever. Whoever you want to take. But you gotta follow us and you gotta subscribe. So
with that, we're going to do our very best, but we're going to be dropping new episodes every week from here on out. The off season is going to be a lot of introductions. A lot of things are changing. There are things that are coming up. NHL draft at the end of June.
Got to talk about that. 13 picks in the NHL draft. That's exciting.
Yeah, you were thinking NFL from today.
I know the NFL draft was today as we're recording this. So even the NFL's on my mind.
Yep.
Sorry, Adam, I like more than one sport. Sue me. But
yeah.
Am I a little salty? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. It was a little salty. But yes, thank you so much for you guys' support. We're super excited to grow this with all of you. The sport, the economy even of sports here in Utah. And this is just such a big move. So, again, like and subscribe, not only for those free tickets, but share this with your hockey community friends. We're excited to grow this together. And over and out. Till next time.
Till next time. Thanks.